Check, check.
And are you in the room? No, are you in the Zoom?
One,
already?
two, two, two.
Did I make you a moderator?
I'm an admin.
Okay.
So I see Wiltrude.
Hold on. Just need to get this focus right on board. And then you should be able to talk to him with this mic. Just need to.
So far in this room I have tech host, SK, and then Sabine.
Okay, wow.
And so she's.
And then Wiltrude
not.
was in the other room? Oh, here's Wiltrude. Okay. So these are the people.
She's situated. There we go. It's all. Let's just make sure that they can hear us. 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you all hear us? Hello? 1, 2.
Yep, that's one.
All right, perfect. Just wanted to check in. Thank you.
Wilfred needs to unmute her mic in order for that to happen.
And
All of them need to unmute their video.
And where will they appear?
They will appear on these screens, sir, which also is appearing on the kicker in front of you, the floor screen, the little bit. Yes, sir, you will.
we got Hussein in. We got Sabine in. We just need Wiltrude. Whenever you're ready. Oh, there we go. Hey, thank you guys so much. We'll be starting soon.
Hello, everybody online. This is Alex Ruane. I'm stepping in for Jonas, who couldn't make it. So thank you all for joining. We're going to get started in a minute.
They're already sat up on the chairs for you.
And when you were
Hello, everybody. We're going to get started here. So I'm calling my last panel members up onto the stage. Bruno, you can sit right next to Gita. Thank you. All right. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to kick it off with a video. All right, welcome everybody. This is a breakout session on using NASA and AgMIP tools for food and agriculture. And we hope many of you were able to join us for the plenary session just a little while ago. This is a continuation and a chance to hear more about AgMIP and NASA related activities in the food sector and how we might connect to all of what you're doing. So you're gonna see this is an interesting session in that we're going to have breakouts within the breakout, but we're going to start by hearing from 8 different folks related to AgMIP and NASA work. We have 3 in the room and we have several online, and especially because of the delays, You may see people in the middle of their night, so we're going to be very forgiving of everybody online who has stayed very late to speak with us today. We are excited to be here because between NASA's models, missions, data sets, and everything that NASA does, there is an effort to understand the Earth system to the extent that we can actually use that knowledge for the betterment of mankind and nature. So we are going to be talking today about the way that the food sector interacts and can utilize these NASA tools. And within AgMIP, how can we utilize crop models, agricultural economic models, food security, and other approaches that utilize the best of those data in conjunction with stakeholders and real world problems to address the challenges of today and the future. So I'm going to get right to it because we have a busy program, and we're going to do lightning round presentations. I'm going to go right down my list here. And our first speaker is going to be Gavin Schmidt from the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies. Gavin is the director of NASA GISS, which is also the home of AgMIP. And at NASA GISS, Gavin is the leader of the NASA GISS Model E, which is NASA's preeminent climate model. So over to you, Gavin.
Thanks. I'm just going to give a very brief overview of the kind of work that we do and how it applies here. So as Alex mentioned, we are a small part of NASA, but we're the preeminent part that does the integration of information related to climate and climate change. We have aspects that are working on observations, integrating those observations, encapsulating the information about the processes there that relate to clouds, land surface processes, the cryosphere. That's integrated into models that we use for the whole climate. So these are global models, including the ocean and the cryosphere and the atmosphere. And then we use those models to ask questions about the state of the climate. Where are we now? Where are we going? How have things changed in the past? Why are they changing now? And what the consequences will be going into the future. These models are highly computationally expensive. We don't get to do a lot of them, but what we do is we try and validate these models, calibrate them against the real world as much as we can so that we can have credible forecasts for what is going to change in the next decades to come. And those changes are things that people here have been talking about all week. Increased heat waves, more intense precipitation, rising sea level, not obviously a very big deal in Iowa, but in other places around the world that matters. Changes to weather regimes, to growing seasons, and then through the work that Alex and his climate impacts group and Cynthia's climate work have done, we're applying those changes to crop models, to urban environments, to air quality questions, and so that we can deliver answers to people that are the whole package. It's not, we're trying very hard not just to focus on one aspect of what is going to change, but to produce information that gives people the whole suite of things that are going to change. What is going to happen to fires, to air quality, to smoke, to temperatures, to rainfall, to humidity, to urban environments. And we're trying to do that in a coherent and consistent way so that you're not getting 10 different pieces of information from 10 different modeling systems, but you're getting something that is internally consistent and validatable as a whole. And those are the kinds of information that then get translated to well, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen in this region? What's going to happen in this watershed? And we still have some work to do there. We have work to do in translating the information that we have, the predictions that we're making, and making them into useful products. And really, that's the frontier that we're at now. We have a good understanding of why things are changing, how things will change in the future, as a function of what we do as a society, of course. But we still haven't translated that information to all the relevant decision makers, whether they're at the farm level, at the city level, the state level, or even the country level. And so that's really what we're working on now, and and GISS is really at the forefront of that for the whole of NASA, actually. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Our next panelist here is Dr. Bruno Basso, who is the John A. Hanna Distinguished Professor at the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Michigan State University. So Bruno, over to you, please.
Thank you, Alex.
Try again.
Hello? Working? No. I'll use that. Okay, sorry for that. Well, first of all, it's truly an honor for me to sit on this panel to honor Cynthia. I have had the privilege to work with Cynthia over the last 13 years within the AgMIP when 13 years ago in Long Beach, AgMIP got started. Just a very quick background. I'm a soil and crop system modeler, and I lead the Digital Agriculture and Crop Modeling Lab at Michigan State University. So the goal of the lab, which fits very much in what we're talking about today, it has the main goal of integrating remotely sensed images and results from crop simulation models, not just one, as you have learned, but a multi-model, suites of models, to provide answers to very complex questions, obviously within the threat of climate change, but also trying to address the important component of not losing the value of nature for crop production, so be able to quantify crop diversity or understanding spatial and temporal variability within fields that could really lead to better ecosystem services. So I am an eager user of NASA products. I use obviously Landsat and integrate several of their products to do historical analysis to the level of understanding at field scale variability, and that has helped us to parameterize models in a much more sophisticated way to identify areas within fields that are really much more vulnerable and be responsible for losing both nitrates or greenhouse gas emissions. So this integration of NASA products, remote sensing, imagery in general, coupled with crop models, is a very powerful system that is a critical tool for basically solve this problem. And just to finish, my main goal is to synthesize information. It's really difficult to imagine that stakeholders will use models themselves, but rather be able to synthesize and distill the results of the model, whether it's for learning about the past to infer about the future, or be able to deliver products to farmers the last mile that they can have really an impact on their sustainability, making changes that leads to profitability, but at the same time be able to get rewards for ecosystem services.
Bruno, I realize I was neglectful in not mentioning that you're also leading new efforts on an AgMIP US consortium. I wonder if you could just add one more word about that work.
So a group of us, people at Columbia, NASA, myself at Michigan State, Sotirio Arcontolis at Iowa State, John Amtol at Oregon State, several other colleagues at University of Florida, we have finally got our act together that even though, as you probably know, AgMIP had a mission to look at climate change impact in low-income countries, but given the fact that climate change is not leaving, obviously, the U.S. free of the threats, we are really packaging this multimodal ensemble to deliver climate-smart practices in a way to understand regional baseline of soil carbon, be able to get closer to the private sector, and understanding how farmers can really use these smart practices by de-risking a little bit, be able to say, well, this type of technology works in this location, but these other type of changes would fit better in another location. So we're really trying to capture the feedback between soil management, genetics, and climate, very site-specific at high resolution in the US, since thanks to NASA, we're able to get high-resolution imagery, and we're really coupling with the models with that goal.
Thank you very much, Bruno. I'm going to give you this one back. All right. So our next speaker is online, and I see the video is there, so hopefully you can see it as well. So our next speaker is Sheikh Ghulam Hussain, who's joining us from the International Maize and Wheat Center, CIMMYT, where he is a senior consultant and on technical coordination and partnership management located in Bangladesh. So Dr. Hussain, over to you, please.
Thank you, Alex. Actually, I'm so honored to be a panelist in this session. So I actually worked with Cynthia since early 90s. Actually, we started with, as my first, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Cynthia Rosenreich for becoming the World Food Prize laureate. And I want to share my association with her and AgMIP. My first acquaintance with Dr. Cynthia was in 1994, while she was conducting a workshop in Hawaii regarding the EPA country study on crop modeling, where I was involved in that project. I actually contributed to another project where Alex was also a part of it. The World Bank funded climate change risk and food security in Bangladesh. So after that, I was invited in 2010 to the global kickoff workshop on AgMIP at Long Beach, California. And then from there, I started working with AgMIP. In 2012, I attended the regional kickoff workshop of AgMIP in Colombo, Sri Lanka, where I led the Bangladesh team of the project on AgMIP approaches for the understanding, projecting, and managing climate risk in stress-prone areas across Central and Eastern Indo-Gangetic basin. I led the Bangladesh component. So after that, what I like the most about the AgMIP is the regional integrated assessment approach that has been implemented across sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The method links to climate, crop, livestock, socioeconomic data, model, and tools to assess the impact of agricultural interventions, climate change, and adaptation strategies. The approach is a novel one, and it can also be used to conduct simulation experiments and understand the response of management interventions to conditions that are either too expensive or which are not usually done in field experiments. Like if we want to simulate something, the impact of climate change on agriculture, which is also possible with this AgMIP tools. So actually, I'm not the user as my earlier speaker said. They are more intense in using this. But I got involved in this program, and I like to think best because AgMIP has brought hundreds of scientists together in a single platform and from different parts of the globe, and has allowed us to interact among ourselves and learn from each other. Currently, I'm involved in implementing the AgMIP farming system mitigation and adaptation co-benefits, or in short, MAGB, a seed project in Bangladesh, which is also led by Cynthia. I'm actually involved in this project as the stakeholder engagement lead. And recently we had a stakeholder workshop where many of the stakeholders took part. Also, Cynthia was there. And I see that this program, the AgMIP program, has helped us in many ways. It has given us the indications of how the climate change will impact agriculture in Bangladesh and elsewhere in the globe. So, and what would be the food security will be at stake. So, I see that I didn't have that much experience in doing in-depth work with the AgMIP tools, but as we are using this as in a group, team, so there are team members who are more conversant with like climate modeling, like the economic, socio-economic aspects of various farming systems, and the impact that it will bring to them is more useful by using this tool. So I actually congratulate Cynthia. I did have I could help in not take. I I was very much enchanted with this that Cynthia got this prize this year. So I could help not to say something about Cynthia. So finally, I'd like to thank Cynthia and the organizers for inviting me to the meeting and giving me the opportunity to say something in front of this learned gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Try again. Switch again. Oh, I think it.
No, that's what.
Now? All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hussein, and especially for staying up at a very, very late hour. Thanks for sharing that information. Our next speaker is Dr. Sabine Homanki-Tui, who is a social scientist working on enabling systems transformation research program at ICRISAT, which is the Center for Research in the Semi-Arid Tropics. And she is located in Malawi and is also the leader of the AgMIP Zimbabwe team. So Sabine, over to you, please.
Thank you, Alex, and greetings to everyone from Malawi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So at ICRISAT, we have been working with AgMIP since 2013 on these future scenarios and integrated assessments, specifically for crop livestock systems in semi-arid areas in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi. And this has really given us the opportunity to build our partnerships and capacity with people, meaning researchers, policymakers, practitioners that can actually influence the conditions for dryland farming to make an impact on rural livelihoods. We all know that these drylands in particular are in transition. They are very important. They cover large parts of the land and they are severely affected by climate change. Poverty and food security levels are already high. We have experienced COVID-19 shocks who really aggravated the situation again. And so with these type of assessments, we can contribute to a better narrative on sustainability transitions in these farming systems.
Sorry. Okay, so it sounds like the next up is going to be Mario Herrero, who is joining from, he is the professor and Cornell Atkinson Scholar in the Department of Global Development at Cornell University, and Mario is also one of the AgMIP Executive Committee members. So Mario, if you're on, please go ahead.
In a way that makes more sense. This has had all sorts of ramifications. In the mitigation agenda, it's been now the series of models in use by default with the protocols that AgMIP developed. And this has been important for all the IPCC work on the sixth assessment, fifth assessment reports, for the special reports on climate change and land, the 1.5 report, which was also very influential. So this has been absolutely leading to improved science support for policy formulation, which has been absolutely critical. Now, the other area that has benefited a lot has been how the area of healthy diets from sustainable food systems. I am now leading on behalf of the Eat Lancet Commission the new modeling study for the Eat Lancet 2.0 study. And in the original study, we used one single model for doing all the calculations. Now, thanks to AgMIP, we have the capacity to piggyback on all the existing work from the past decade or more than a decade and really start adding uncertainty language to healthy diets from sustainable systems, to risk factors of consuming different diets, all the way to the assessment of the different environmental planetary boundaries. This is also unique because this has never been done before. We've never managed to do planetary boundaries with ensembles of models. Now it's beyond climate change. Now we're dealing with water, with biodiversity, with a range of other impacts. And this will actually prepare us to do other types of, and to analyze other types of impacts in the future. Also, because the range of models has been so enormous, we are also delving now into the social impacts, which is also very important. For example, what happens with employment, what happens with labor, what happens with affordability of many of these healthy diets. We'll be able to have much better answers to these critical problems to ensure that we achieve healthy diets from sustainable systems, leaving no one behind. There is this justice element that is inherent to the kinds of problems that we deal with. And the AgMIP modeling protocols and the suite of models ranging from the global to the very local really provide an incredible anchor to support policies and investment in this space. Cynthia, I know you're there. Thanks a million for everything you've done for all of us and for being relentless and positive as ever. I will keep on being honored for working with you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mario. All right, our next speaker is in the room. Dr. Geeta Lakshmi Vengiri is here from Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in southern India, where she is the Vice Chancellor. Geeta is also a member of the AgMIP Executive Committee and has led the AgMIP South India team for many years now. Geeta, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Alex, and thanks for giving me the great opportunity. I join with everyone to congratulate Dr. Cynthia for achieving this great height, and you definitely deserve it. And thanks for involving every one of us in your journey. And when Cynthia asked me almost 12 years back to join with AgMIP, it was the first AgMIP 1 was actually getting initiated. I was more than happy to jump in, and I still feel that it's a great decision that I made to join with this group. And personally I learned a lot, and then I could transfer the knowledge whatever I gained to many more people. So that is the first achievement I should say that I gained through this. And as I was telling just before in the session, AgMIP is truly international, and AgMIP is really connecting people who have a specific interest in climate change research across the disciplines. So that is one thing which is very specific as far as AgMIP is concerned. As far as India is concerned, Indian agriculture is really stressed with many things, including the population is growing like anything, and we have to provide food. The food security is one of the greatest concern because it is growing at the rate of 1.13% per annum. So that is the greatest concern everyone is having for India. And with this current rate of growth, we are expected to double our population almost in 2060s and 2070s. So, and not only that, our land area is getting shrinked because of the put into non-agricultural uses. And another important thing is the price fluctuation. So that is also one of the important thing which is happening, and the cost of cultivation is increasing. increasing. So given those situations, the foremost thing that is happening is climate variability and climate change that is stressing the Indian agriculture to a greater extent. So the climate variability, what I mean to say is like the extreme weather events are increasing by its magnitude as well as frequency. So that is one thing which we are finding it very difficult. So given that situation, we definitely need to understand what impacts are happening on the agriculture because of the changing climatic condition, and first of all because of the climatic variability, the current climate variability. Will there be any advantages if we do some adaptation in the current system? And that is what the question was raised in the AgMIP as one of the key questions, and we could able to answer to that. To coming to the methodology part of it, India is a very diverse country, and we operated this particular project in 3 different geographical locations. One is in the southern India, where Tamil Nadu is one of the important states which has got almost 7-8 different type of geographical situations, and then the neighboring state which is Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and another one in the northern India. So we had quite a good spread of the study done with the AgMIP team. And as far as the climate change projections are concerned, it was little difficult for us to convince always our policy makers like what the changes are going to happen in the future, because they used to put so many questions. Whenever we talk about the future, there is a lot of uncertainty that occurs. So AgMIP gave a very good answer for that with multimodal usage for projecting the future climate, and also segregating them into different subsectors like warm, wet, warm, dry, and so on. And we did not leave any of the thing. We took one representative model from each of it, and we could showcase the impact that would happen in the future. And then coming to the usage of climate information onto the crop simulation model, again we used multiple models, and one important thing which is very, very good in AgMIP is even the people who are not very specialized in crop simulation models can also use by using the tools. For example, DOME tool was developed as a part of the AgMIP program that helped many people to use the multiple models for assessing the impact. So we in Tamil Nadu Agricultural University gave capacity building program. We conducted capacity building program, and many scientists across the Indian subcontinent got benefited out of it, and they are using it. Another important thing which I found it is very unique is, like normally if we want to say the impact of climate change, we used to have some point-based model or even the spatial model. But even then, the form system, form level, that nobody was doing it before AgMIP, I believe. So what we did, whatever the variability that is happening within the smaller area across the forms, what was taken into consideration for assessing the impact of climate change. So that was one thing very good I found, and so we can find what is the level of input used and how it gets impacted on because of the changing climatic condition. And then taking these things onto economic model was another great thing which was different, and we had different status, based on the economic conditions and based on the things. For example, the drylands we kept it as one strata, and the irrigated uplands we kept it as another strata, where the level of uncertainty in their income is very different. So that was again addressed through this particular approach. And the most important thing is the stakeholder integration. So that gave us a lot of leverage to involve our policy makers as one of the stakeholders. Starting from the beginning, we started to entertain them, and we started to engage them in different ways. So that actually helped us in promoting, in developing climate change policies for agriculture sectors. So it was all evidence-based policies. It was very easy for us to convince them because we have been engaging them from stage to stage. And another important thing is IT sector played a very thorough role, because organizing the big data and then reviewing the data, archiving the data, using the data, and again reviewing, everything was done through the IT sector, which was really wonderful. And finally, it is a great job done for the exhibiting some of the results. It has to be palatable. So for the palatability, this Impact Explorer played a greater role, and we all got benefited out of it. So this is the way the AgMIP rolled around. And coming to the outcomes, there were so many outcomes we found it, and some of the very tangible outputs also came from this particular project. So few of the outcomes I would like to say is every state in India was developing state action plan on climate change. So Tamil Nadu also was preparing state action plan on climate change, and our AgMIP actually played a greater role in giving them this is what is going to happen in the future as far as this one is concerned, climate change projections and impact. And more importantly, we developed RAPs, representative agriculture pathways, that was developed for local as well as for the national level. RAPs was developed. Looking at the future, if we just work on the current situation, it is not going to help us in the future, because in India, the land holdings are very small and marginal farmers, more than 85% of the farmers are small and marginal and resource poor. So how this system is going to get translated in the future, that was really, really important for us to understand. So we invited experts and we had a dialogue with them, and people have suggested, okay, so these smaller land holdings may get consolidated into a bigger, still the ownership will be there with the farmers, but it might get consolidated and we may have different kind of a situation in the future. What would be the level of input use? Everything was discussed. That was actually giving us a lot of leverage in developing the adaptation options. When we developed adaptation options also, adaptation options also, what we have been thinking is, we thought in a different way, like we involved the breeders as well, biotechnologies as well. See, this is the kind of climate resilient varieties we wanted. So that is how we engaged them, and we told them, now there is biotechnological tools are available. We can sequence the genes to put the traits into it. So that is how we engaged them as well. So this is a great kind of a program, and really opened up the eyes of many people, integrated many scientists, and given a tangible output and outcome. Thank you so much for the given opportunity.
Thank you, Geeta. I want to make sure we get to our last speaker, who has been holding on online, and I'm sure a very late hour in South Africa. Our next speaker is Dr. Wiltrud Durand, who is a specialist in geographic information systems and crop modeling for the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy in South Africa, and Wiltrud led the AgMIP South Africa team in our most recent assessment there. So Wiltrud, over to you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Alex, and I'd like to congratulate Cynthia on your prize. Yes, it's quite late here in South Africa, 11:30, nearly midnight. When I was invited to AgMIP, it was like it came out of the blue. I just got this email and it said, and I thought, oh great, this looks like a very interesting project to get involved in. And then I'm actually just an ordinary NAS researcher, and everybody else came from all these big things, institutions. So I was a bit intimidated in the beginning, and then they said to us, we need a survey in agriculture for the economics and for all these things to run all these simulations. And I thought, well, in South Africa, we've got this dual farming system. We've got a good commercial farming system, then we have a lot of small-scale farmers, but we do not have very good information on the small-scale farmers, and a lot of our commercial farmers, all the information is proprietary, especially on the economic side. So I thought, well, I have to think a little bit out of the box here and think how can I still stay involved in this nice project that seems very interesting, but not having a survey data set available. So with that, I went back a little bit further. In the beginning of 2000, the South African grain trading system went from a one-channel system to an open market system. So they required better crop estimates to keep all the pricing correct and keep everybody in this whole system well. So they brought in a public-private partnership, and this public-private partnership involved starting to digitize all the field boundaries in South Africa from Landsat and spot images. So now I know exactly where are all our fields in South Africa, and then with that also within this public-private partnership, we had a type of crop type classification system, and this was actually recalibrated every year because within the crop estimate systems survey that we have an aerial flyover where they go and fly over set point frame, so they see what is planted on each field every year, and this system gets recalibrated every year for the field boundaries and for the crop type classification. So we have about 14 million hectares digitized in South Africa, and then we have a very good data set to do crop type classifications. So I knew I had that. So I knew where the maize was planted, where the soybeans are planted, where the wheat is planted, and all that. Then from my also involvement in the crop estimate system, I ran the objective yield survey. So I had good crop management data. I knew I had within a point frame, I knew what was the management there. I also had good soils data, which was done on a 90-meter den, and then I also had access to very good climate data. So I thought, well, I've got all these little pieces. Why can't I put them together with a geographic information system? And it's actually quite nice because you can export that into Excel, and the Excel can be used within the AgMIP tool. And what I liked about the system, what I thought was quite nice, because one can now play around with temporal scales, but also with spatial scales, because on the spatial side, one can actually put together the data on either, because it's field crop boundaries, you can summarize it either to a farm level, to a catchment level, a district level, or even to a provincial level. And on the time scale, depends on what we put in the system, but for AgMIP we worked on this 30-year period and the mid-century time scale. And then on the economic side, I had regional enterprise budgets, which one could also actually spatialize. So everything went into the geographic system, came out, went to all these AgMIP tools, and we could generate a climate change scenario at a whole provincial level. And this actually brought very good insights to what's happening on sort of nearly the field level up to the provincial level. And then I also used this system to do crop estimates using the climate data up to the date, and South Africa is mainly driven by rainfall. Temperature is not that important, and then just using an analog system to fulfill the season. And this data that was generated for the crop estimates was given to the crop estimates committee. The AgMIP side are a lot of, not the direct information, but some of this information was also put together towards the handbook for farmers with climate change, where there's a chapter that I wrote. And then we also, within our SAMWIP project, we also ran some of the scenarios for Botswana and Namibia. So basically, this is what I want to say is that what I think was quite nice was that the AgMIP tools, together with remote sensing, can give you an insight into what can happen at a regional level. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you all for the presentations, both in the room and online. We're going to, I think, move on to the next phase, and what I wanted to say in hearing all of these is you've heard discussions of how we're approaching this problem from a global level, from a global change level, all the way down to, as you heard, some very specific, very regional, very contextual applications that help us connect the type of information that is needed for the decision processes down on the level that is really making a difference. We're working all over the world, and many people in the room here are involved in AgMIP in some way or another. So we're going to get into something that's a little bit like an inception here, where we're going to have breakouts within the breakout. And what we're going to try to do is encourage some small clusters of people. I think we counted about 8 or 9 different AgMIP people in the room who could meet with these different clusters. And we're going to try to get into the dialogue part of this Borlaug Dialogue here, and also give you a taste of what the AgMIP community is like, which is very much inclusive, drawing people in. We want to hear about what you're interested in. It will largely be AgMIP folks listening, I hope. So we would love to hear from you if you have questions or if you have interests or places that you think models may or may not be applicable. In many cases, we'll hear your concerns and try to see what we can develop from that. And maybe just to motivate that, there are a couple questions we can start with here, which is how can NASA and AgMIP tools advance sustainable food systems and planetary health? How can we bridge the scales between global assessments and regional food systems on the ground? And what that you've heard about in terms of AgMIP approaches, what about climate change resilience and decision-making in Africa and other developing countries can we bring to inform overall planning for adaptation, mitigation, and sustainable development? So thanks again to the panelists. We're going to now kind of a little bit self-organized groups. At one point I was thinking about karate chopping the groups, the audience into small groups, but I think what we'll do is we'll send AgMIP people to different parts of the room, so just this is your chance to say hello to your neighbor and learn more about what's going on. So, yes, Cynthia. We don't have much time, so I know this is sometimes these types of social things make people uncomfortable, so we're going to say 8 minutes max to do this. So it's really just a chance to let us know what you're up to. So AgMIP people in the room, maybe if you could raise your hand who could join a room. I see Terry. I'm going to call on people if you're not already there. Laura also maybe could help with this, Geeta. So let's find somebody, and we're going to come to you a little bit as well. So thank you all for coming.
use the
All right, everybody, I hear some very interesting conversations going. I'm just going to announce that we are now done with time. Thank you all for coming, and the conversation should keep going, but just so everybody knows, we are now past the end of our time. And thanks again for coming out.